everyone, I'm Sab and today I'm narrating this video for the channel Fact. But before we get into it, smash that subscribe button and turn on the bell so you won't miss a single content. And let's get started. 3 waves of volunteers and the new earth. To better express this issue, I'm using the content of the book The Law of Love and Its Fabulous Frequency of Freedom by Jas Marine. During this century, different models of humanity have been born and each model has its own purpose. Lotus children, Indigo children, and Crystal children. Lotus children. Children who have come into this world with a great desire for inner and outer peace, and they begin their work by appealing to Eastern mysticism. Their mission was to be miraculous, to lay the foundation for a new millennium of peaceful and sensitive coexistence, and to be a clear example of the masters who can exist in our world to achieve happiness. The Indigo kids came to change our systems and say that everything can work a little better here. My standards are higher than this and my needs are not met. They are very creative and sensitive and they want to be listened to and asked to make a change in our education and social systems because they are used as agents of change. Crystal children. Children who wake up with their nature. They are often devoid of karma imbalances. They are humanitarians, animal-friendly and earth-loving. Choosing large diets is a part of their lives, many of which are examples of the power of unconditional love. Their role is to complement the work of Indigo children who have changed the system and reset standards. Crystal children are inspiring examples of love in action. To better describe these 3 waves, I refer to excerpts from Dolores Cannon's book 3 Waves of Volunteers and the New Earth, that inspired generations of spiritual beings who have volunteered at this time to help humanity and the planet come to Earth. Jas Marine says, "My research into hypnosis has led me to unimaginable journeys through time and space to explore the past and future possibilities. When I first started my research through past life therapy, I thought I would only find people who remember life on Earth. As my work progressed, I was given a lot of information about the beginning of life on Earth. I was told we were moving into a new world, a new dimension in which this information will be appreciated and used. During my research, I heard about everything that is made up of energy. Shape and form are characterized only by frequency and vibration. Energy never dies, it just changes. I have been told that the Earth changes its vibration and frequency and prepares to enter new dimensions. There are always countless dimensions around us. We cannot see them because as their vibration accelerates, they become invisible to our eyes. It is important for us to know more about this change to a new dimension because we are now in the middle of it and the peak is coming soon. Earth is a school we attended and learned from, but is not the only school we've been to. We have lived on other planets and other dimensions. We've done a lot of things you can't even imagine. Many people had no reason to enter the land density. They came voluntarily to help humanity and the Earth at this time. Jas Marine says, "I have encountered 3 waves of these new spirits living on Earth. They have come to help at this time because most people are trapped in karma and do not progress. They have lost their vision of living on Earth. Early in my career, I thought it was impossible for anyone to experience their first life on planet Earth today. This should be a gradual process, going through different forms of life before becoming human. Air, rock, soil, plant, animal, and finally human." She goes on to say, "I thought that when a soul decides to get ready to strive to live as a human being, it will be a primitive society so it can slowly adjust to the environment. I thought that with all his chaotic energy, he could never suddenly enter our modern and terrifying society. But then I realized that some souls are entering the Earth for the first time. To fully understand the theory, we need to go back to the seed of the human race, how life on Earth again. To understand why these three waves of volunteers arose at the same time, we must return to the beginning of life in our world. There was no life on the earth a while ago. There were many volcanoes and the atmosphere was full of ammonia. It had to change to start life on the planet. There are councils that make law and regulation to make life around the world. There are councils on the solar system, councils on the galaxy, and councils on the universe. This is a system. These higher dimension creatures around the world are looking for planets suitable for life. They say that when a planet reaches a point where it can sustain life, it is a very important event in the history of that planet. It is then given a life character. The various ET groups or higher dimension beings are then given the task of going and starting life on that planet. This in no way denies the existence of God. These creatures first create single-cellular organisms to divide them into multicellular organisms. After creating a planet, every now and then they go to the planet to examine the cells. Most cells do not survive and the planet becomes lifeless again, so they do it all over again. Over time they settled here on the ground, and after a while the plants began to form. As life began, they returned to visit and care for it. They created the oceans and cleaned the air to create different forms of life. Eventually, higher beings began to create intelligent beings. This has happened on every planet. This is a way of life. Now, to create an intelligent being, they had to create animals with brains large enough to be able to learn. That's why they chose monkeys. Some people disagree, but the truth is that we are 98% genetically compatible with this animal. We can even give blood to a monkey. But even so, human creation required genetic manipulations. Our evolution is a jump of generations. This did not happen by accident. Over time, whenever something needed to be given to humanity, these creatures lived with humans and gave them what they needed. Every culture in the world has legends, and in all the legends of the world, these creatures come from the sky. When an intelligent creature was created on Earth, the Council decided to give us free will and see what we do with it. Of course, there are planets that do not have free will. They cannot interfere the development of an intelligent species. They can help us by educating us and giving us knowledge, but they cannot intervene. What we do is our free will. Many times you have taken their gift and used it for negative and destructive deeds. The only exception to this rule is to reach the stage of development so that we can destroy the world. This cannot be allowed because it will reflect across galaxies and disrupt many planets and even life in other dimensions. We were supposed to be a perfect species that would never get sick and live as long as they wanted. The land was supposed to be a great place like the Garden of Eden, but something unexpected happened and changed the whole plan. When life was well developed, a meteorite hit the ground, causing bacteria to cause disease. This was the first time the disease was introduced to the planet. The question was whether the Council would destroy everything and start over again, or allow life to continue. While the Council decided to allow life on Earth to move forward. These higher dimensional creatures were watching our evolution, but something happened in 1945 that really caught their eye. Atomic bomb exploded at the end of World War II. We were not supposed to have atomic power at that stage of our evolution. They knew we would not be able to control it and we would use it to destroy it. When atomic power entered our timeline, it was meant to be used for good deeds. It was at this time, in the late 1940s and early 1950s, that information about UFOs began to be heard. The higher beings returned to the Council and asked them what they should do because they were not allowed to interfere with human free will. At this time, the Council presented a brilliant plan. We cannot intervene from the outside, But if we help from the inside, we may be able to make a change, they said. Most people on earth are caught up in the cycle of reincarnation and the cycle of karma, and they make the same mistakes over and over again. We are supposed to be evolving, but we are not. This is why Jesus and the other great prophets came to earth to teach people how to get out of the wheel of karma, to help humanity evolve. But we make the same mistakes over and over again, creating too much war and violence. How could people on earth help earth when they could not save themselves? So they needed pure spirits who had never been on earth before, and were not caught in the wheel of karma. Over the past 5 years, I have found more spirits that came directly from God, or they lived on another planet, says Jasmine. There are now tens of thousands of these new spirits around the world, and higher beings have said they are no longer worried about the extinction of the earth. They say we are finally balancing, we want to save the world. 3 waves of volunteers, divided into 3 groups of children, have landed. The first wave of these ghosts landed in the late 1950s and early 1970s, after the bombing in the late 1940s. They don't like the violence and ugliness in this world, and they want to return home, even if they have no idea why they are here and where they came from. It affects their emotions and even paralyzes them, especially powerful ones like anger and hatred. They are used to peace and love because that is what they experienced. These people may seem to have a good life here, a loving family and a good job, but many of them are trying to commit suicide. There seems to be no logical reason, but they are very unhappy and do not want to be here. The second wave came to Earth in the late 1990s. They live much easier. They are usually at the forefront of helping others. They are entered with a unique energy that greatly impresses others. Simply by walking in a crowded mall or grocery store, their energy affects everyone in contact with them. This is very strong, and of course they do not know about it, and it is completely unaware. Many of them stay at home to avoid contact with others. They even work at their homes. Many of the first and second wave do not want to have children. They subconsciously understand that children create karma and do not want to communicate anything with them here. They just want to do their job and get out of here. Many do not get married unless they are lucky enough to find their same type. The third wave is new children, many of whom are now in their teens. They have entered with all required knowledge, but on an unconscious level. As I explained in the article The Great Solar Flash, the Earth and everything in it must change to enter a new dimension, and that change includes changes in DNA of humans. But the DNA of new children has already changed, and they are ready to enter the new dimension with little or no problem. Of course, many of these children are misunderstood by schools and unfortunately are given medical treatment. A recent medical report states that 100 million children worldwide are diagnosed with ADHD and are taking Ritalin and other medications. There is no problem in these children, they are just more advanced and work with a different frequency. They are very smart. This group is called World Hope. Some of these children are only 9 or 10 years old. I have always believed in the theory that increasing births is always followed by a war or catastrophe in which many people will be killed, as a way to replace and regulate the population, and perhaps by a group to complicate the matters of transmogrification. But another theory could be that many volunteers want to enter. Video, hope it was helpful. If you found it interesting, make sure you give it a like and share it with a friend. Also, our socials, as always, will be shown on the screen and put on the description section down below. Make sure to check them out, and I see you guys soon.